This episode was originally a live webinar which took place back in May 2025.
I see AI at the moment, with the current stage, I see it as a very good sparring partner and very good enhancement to the engineers. So we can actually do much more than we could with the same workforce.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
A very well welcome to the first Swisspreneur and Holy Code live stream for this summer. It's my pleasure to welcome Nenad, co-founder and CTO, as well as co-CEO at Holy Code, where you support startups with tech solutions, and also Herbert, the co-founder and CEO at Earkick, a personal AI chatbot focused on mental health. Thank you for being here today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Let's start with a short intro question. Nenad, Holy Code has been around for a while now. What still excites you to get out of bed in the morning?
There are a few things, but let's say the main two ones are that I still meet a lot of brilliant people every day, basically, and I hear a lot about a lot of great ideas, the ideas that can really change the world, and also the opportunity that I can be part of that and actually help them become successful. So this is really the thing.
That's a cool motivation to have. Herbert, on your side, Earkick, I feel it's such a unique product, and I wonder what sparked the idea for an AI chatbot that is focused on mental health.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, today it's quite obvious, right? People are used to chatbots since November 22. And the idea actually started much earlier for us. It started in 2010 when I was actually thinking, hey, there should be like a scalable solution with a chatbot and something that can actually help you to support you in your mental health journey. And then with 2013, the movie Her was like incredible for me. Like, hey, this is really what we want to build. And then in 2017, as you probably know, the Transformer paper came out, which changed a lot of things, how people did AI at the time, like RNNs or LSTMs. So I don't know whether this means something to you. But a lot changed with these transformers. And then 2019, everything came together. I did some first trials with BERT, with FLAN-T5, with the old LLMs, let's say, and the old language models, not LLMs, but language models, and did our own like emotion recognition thing that didn't work on acted data, but then worked on real data. And that was like the change that made everything happen. Long answer for a short question.
No, I love that because it was the right moment where technology and sort of your interest in everything came together. I love that. So talking about building a product, that's the core topic of today. And Nenad, when you start working on a new product, what is your go-to team structure? Do you prefer full stack developers or specialists? Tell me, what is your perfect setup and why? I know it always depends, but what's your first take?
Exactly. So if I look at my experience, if I summarize it, let's say, I still believe, or I always try to spread that as well, that, the tech team setup and also technology itself should follow the state of the startup. You don't build something super complex at the beginning. You don't build something super simple when you are really far down the road, right? You have to take care of the security and a lot of other stuff, right? And architecture. So I think if you start the new product, it should actually start really lean from one perspective. But from another side, I really believe that you should actually have specialists for the things they do, right? Because you can have a full stack developer, but still, that full stack developer is still stronger at one side. Is it on back end and front end, and I think you should still profile them like that. But at the same time, it has to be lean. So I would say if you start with, let's say, front end and back end engineer to make it super lean, I would still plan that, let's say, the backend engineer is also taking part of the architectural role and also maybe planning the whole backend, the hosting, the DevOps, while the front end can be maybe more close to the design, also the business ideas and so on and so forth. that's one option, to hire them full time. Or basically, I mean, as you know, what we are doing, basically, we have teams that work together for 10 years. They work together very well. They know each other super well. So we can also leverage that at the beginning, get a good agency that did that for many times so far, and then just leverage that as well.
So if I hear you correctly, 2 people is enough to start as a lean product startup team in that sense.
That's how we started, let's say, a few things in the past. It can work up to a certain size.
Nice. Herbert, you sold a company to Qualcomm a while ago, and I just wonder, how did your experience from there and also building companies before affect the way that you now build product at Earkick? Had that any influence, or did you change anything based on your previous experience?
Yeah, good question. So when we built Coaba, that was in 26 and we sold it in 2014. So that's quite a long time ago already. A lot of things happened in the meantime. And especially since the advent of new coding technologies with AI, things have completely changed. But that was before, like after we built Earkick. I could agree. I mean, I can really agree with what Nenad said. In the beginning, you should keep it lean and small, and probably today you can do it all on your own. I would probably do the next company just on my own, the prototypes, because I can code. I know front end and back end development plus design, and this bring the whole thing together. What I've learned is more over time to, as Nenad said, to hire specialists. And actually the first hire would be more at the senior level and not hire juniors, which you need to manage. You want to have someone who already knows how to build the back end, how to build the front end, how to build AI, and then maybe, or basically let them do their work. In terms of now that's the next question about the in-house development or agencies. But I would go really, really lean in the beginning, as Nenad said. Maybe today 1 person even would be enough.
I love that. I also have an AI question for you guys later, because I feel that also probably has an effect on the team size these days. But one thing that you just mentioned, Herbert, was that you then hire for senior people. I feel that's something that we often see first-time founders. They then just want to hire juniors to have a bigger team and sort of still be in that leadership position and manage these people. You say the opposite, basically. You say your first hire should be a senior. Please explain us a bit more the rationale behind that, because I feel for many first-time founders, this sounds a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, maybe. But for me, I don't like to manage people. I actually let them do their work, and I want to to trust in them. And that's why I always had really great experience hiring great people. You also want to learn from them. It's not that they ask you every 5 minutes, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? So with senior people, it's really cool. You can hire them and you tell them what you need to do. They ask questions back, maybe challenge you even. Why don't you do it like this or that? We could do this and that. You didn't even know. And you say, wow, this is cool. Yeah, good idea. So let's do it. And then you let them run and you don't need to do a thing. Just aligning on the OKRs and the company goals. That's it.
Isn't it very difficult if you don't have that experience as a founder to hire someone that has way more experience than you and really also judge them on the quality?
I don't know. I think it's always good to learn from people, to hire better people than you are. This is for me the go-to. I want to hire better people than I am. So in order to learn from them, in order to just make a better product.
I completely agree there. And I mean, you can judge basically based on their experience and obviously the way of thinking, even though you're not that deep into some topics. Obviously, you can see okay, how did they reason the things? How do they challenge you? And I completely agree that you should actually hire people that are better than you in the domains where they should be operate.
Now, Nenad, we talked before about, the team setup. 2 people is a great way to start. But often we also see founders thinking about the, endless discussion. Should I hire them directly with my startup and have them in-house, or should I work with an agency or really a support partner like Holy Code is to help me source that talent and manage that talent for me? What is the right decision there? Because there are probably pros and cons on both sides, I imagine.
For sure. And basically what we always thought about is to actually support both options, whether the startup wants to go one other or another way. I think if you really want to deal with software development, the process, leading engineers, making sure that, you make a smooth, high-performant team and so on and so forth, you can actually basically focus on hiring your own team. It can be in-house or it can be like in a nearshoring setup, doesn't matter, like as long as it's your team and only working with you. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to actually have a safe approach, okay, I will just get someone who does that every day and they have tons of experience. Our teams are doing, are building 20 products per year, maybe even more. So they're really well-oiled machinery and someone else is taking the risk, right? You don't have to take care of that. Then you go for the agency, I would say. That's quite easy for the beginning, I would say, to actually have a clear budget, clear planning, clear deadline, and that's it,
Herbert, how was that for you? Because you mentioned before, the next startup you probably build all by yourself. So you do in-house development at its best, basically. Why is that the right setup for you versus working with an agency, for example?
I think the right setup depends on the setup of the company, on where lies the core of the company. And I always think, what's the core? What's the USP of that company? And that should be in-house, definitely. Building an MVP can be, you do it on your own with AI, you can do it with an agency, it's fast. I think you need to focus on reaching the goals with speed. Speed is really important for startups. So sometimes you can't hire someone, then you go for an agency in the meantime, or you build, for example, an iOS app, you need the Android, you don't do it on your own, you just tell the agency, hey, look, here's the iOS version, please do the same on Android. And the other thing is, does it need to be close to, for example, design, product management? So I prefer having in-house development, in-house team. I also personally like to take the project management myself, and some agencies don't support that. They hire a project manager, so like a filter or a wall between you and the developers. And I speak their language. I'm like at the source, I'm a developer too. So I prefer talking to them directly, not via a project manager.
If I hear you correctly, you say no matter the setup, you want to be close to the developers, whether they are in-house or nearshored in that sense.
Again, it depends. If for example, for the Android version, you coded the iOS version already pretty to the detail, and then you just hire the agency to do the Android version. I don't need to be close to anyone. I just need to have the product at the end, and it should not fail the tests. That's it. I think it really depends on what is the core of the company and where is the focus.
That's actually a really good point. And I wonder, Nenad, what is your experience from working with so many different clients, from startups to also corporates? Do they usually come to you for support in the early stages to get an MVP out, and then they sort of take it in-house from there? Or is it the other way around? They start on their own, and then as they scale, they need more talent, they want to expand their team, and that's when they come to you to work with you guys. What is sort of the more common setup?
Yeah, looking at our portfolio, it's actually quite broad, I would say. On both sides, we have many companies that work with us. And it's really what Herbert said, depending on their strategy, they're thinking, okay, what we should actually be close to and what we should not be close to, what is our core product, But this is why I said at the beginning, we actually found a way that we can offer both things to those companies. So let's say a typical customer starts with us as an agency setup. We build a MVP with them, we maintain it for a while, and they say, okay, now we hire a CTO. We would like to take that in-house, part of it. Then we said, okay, no problem. We can actually set up a team at Holycode that is your team, just hosted with us, but it's your location, your office, you can brand it your way, you can do whatever you want, basically. And we actually, since it's in the same company, we can do a smooth handover between the two teams, right? And this works quite well. And this is actually quite good also, not just for startups, but also for corporates, for their innovation departments. They sometimes try out things with us and they say, this works. We got the traction. We actually got them to thinking into this way. Let's validate before we build, which is quite good. And then they actually insource that into their core teams, basically.
Amazing. So you're really flexible depending on what the customer wants or needs in that sense.
The goal is that the product succeeds. That's the only goal.
Herbert, before you were talking a bit about how you want to collaborate with your teams. And I wonder, can you give us a bit of a deep dive there? How do you exactly work with your product teams, with front end, back end, but also with designs and the project management that you do yourself. How do you exactly work together? Do you have a very rigid structure where you say we have daily stand-ups, etc.? Or is it more of a free-floating concept? How do you work in a practical day?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm going to be provocative maybe a bit here with the answer. Again, I don't like to manage, and I want to have really clear goals, measurable goals. And that's what we do. We have 2 meetings usually. One 101 on Monday to define the priorities and like what to do during the week, what's on the plan. And then one meeting with the whole team on Wednesday. It's actually right after this call where we all tell each other what we're doing. It's more like an information event to see where we stand, what we're doing, what everyone is doing, which is a cool thing. That's it. We have 2 meetings per week. Sometimes there are questions, we can solve them on Slack, but otherwise we have minimal amount of meetings, and our developers, they just love it like this. They can work on their own pace. They can work really deeply. They're not always interrupted with another meeting here, another meeting there. And the other important thing, I think, is to define the OKRs, so the really measurable objectives and key results for the company, and everyone knows which those are and has responsibility to fulfill them. And think like this, we can manage quite well this size of a team. I think if it gets larger, then it gets obviously more complicated. But at this stage, it's pretty straightforward and good like this.
This episode was sponsored by Property, the leading real estate agent for all real estate transactions with a comprehensive ecosystem. They combine highly trained experts with the latest technologies on an intelligent platform to provide clients, brokers, and service partners with risk-free, flexible, and simplified services. Learn more at property.com. That's property with an I.com. How many people are you at the moment in the development team?
So we're 6, I guess, if I count that right. And this is mostly mobile, backend, AI design, if you want to count that as well.
I love that setup because it's as many meetings as necessary, but as less as possible, basically. Talking about the OKRs, this seems to be the key point, because in the 101, I assume you then measure, did you do something to contribute us to get closer to hitting these OKRs? Are these OKRs, are they on a team level or on an individual level, like on a real developer level? How do you set them?
So there is on the team level, which is the whole company in our case. And then I don't say on the developer level, but always it's the team. Sometimes the team is just one person. But I don't want to make them feel responsible personally to reach the goals. It's not the goal to, at the end of the month, to blame them. You didn't reach your goals. It's just to have a clarity about what needs to be done and how this is being measured. So also like compensation and so on doesn't depend on OKRs. This is like the guideline, what people need to focus on.
Got it. Nenad, when you hear that, is that the similar way that you work, or do you do things differently compared to what Herbert just shared?
We do use OKRs, but for us it's a bit more tricky, I would say, because we have 6 legal entities in different countries, and it's around 430, 40 people, depending how you count it. So we do use OKRs in every entity. We have a group-wide OKR, basically, where we as the founders give a strategical direction, but then every entity itself has to get onto this umbrella. So basically they have to develop their own OKRs that actually fit to this umbrella, and we try to go to the department level, basically. So not yet per person. This would also be, we are still training internally how to use OKRs properly and so on. But it's really what Herbert just said. It's really just that we are all going into the same direction. That's the whole goal of that. I mean, I can also mention afterwards about it. One of it is also related to one of the key results is related objectives, and key results is related to AI, for instance. So
please walk us through that example. That sounds really interesting.
Sure. So in one of the units, it's called Holy Code Products. Basically, that's the unit where we run the process of developing. So it's not that we just give the teams. There we actually have now OKR or like objective and the key results that are leading the the company towards trying out new tools involving basically AI tools into development on everyday basis. And they have to check several of them, write down what is good, what is not good, test it on a couple of projects. And then we end up actually choosing the ones we want to go for. It's still ongoing for backend and frontend, also for the design. For instance, just I can share like this UX pilot is quite good for us for the design so far. There are also others we tried, like I think Wizard and Reloom, but the third one actually, the UX pilot got to be the maybe the best so far for our case. And for the backend, we still use heavily on a lot of the sides GitHub Copilot, even though some people are still not happy with it, especially let's say the backend part, but only backend related to the PHP. So they're trying out other stuff. And for instance, we are also now testing a cloud AI code for actually reviewing the entire code bases, analyzing them, telling us what's good, what's not good, and how we can improve it. And the next thing is also security that we are planning to start.
I love that. So there's a lot going on the AI front. And I wonder, Herbert, I mean, if we talk about product today in 2025, you don't get around the topic of AI. And I wonder, how does AI change the way that you actually build product at Earkick?
Well, it changes quite a bit. I mean, the current tools are really powerful and they can be used for development but also testing and everything. I'm really also excited to see where this is going. I guess there's going to be a huge army of agents that can then do the whole testing and even automatically creating tickets to the other agents that will then go through them and so on. And this is really exciting. So for us, it's definitely something we're looking into. And we're using it day by day. We even created for marketing, especially, it's really something that's interesting. It saves a huge team even for like writing blog posts or creating videos. Still, a human needs to go through. You don't want to clutter the web with AI generated content, but it really helps to create content, to create stuff.
So in that sense, if I understand you correctly, it allows you to work or to continue working in smaller teams compared to the previous days where you might have had to hire people to be able to get the same amount of work done.
Yeah, for us, yes, it really does. It helps a lot. I don't think on a global level it will. We also thought when computers came that this is going to save a lot of things, but things shifted. So headcounts will then flow into another direction. But yeah, for us at the moment, it's really easy to replace even like teams or not replacing teams. That's the wrong word, but not hiring, because we can use a lot AI for certain tasks.
And Nenad, if you look at your business model, right, usually people come to you and say, hey, we need a team to get this and this done. And of course, they also want AI. So do you also see a trend towards smaller teams or people hiring less workforce from you because of the latest AI tools?
Actually, we don't see that. I mean, we are quite close to pre.dev. It's the AI agent for actually generating, or AI startup that generates let's say it automatized the whole discovery part of the product development. And the founder told me, look, Nenad, these AI tools, they are good and this is coming, right? It's going to come. But still, there are everyday new tools, and then startup founders, they try it over the weekend, they get stuck, and then they need help, right? Somehow to connect all of it still, which I think it's, I see AI as at the moment with the current stage, I see it as a very good sparring partner and very good enhancement to the engineers. So we can actually do much more than we could with the same workforce, basically with the same size of the teams. And maybe an interesting story there is I see this AI trend is the same back in the days, in the industrial age, when the robotics came into the production lines, people said, wow, crazy. Now we will work 2 hours a day and then we will produce the same amount of cars and it's done. But actually what happened is they work much more. They produce 15 times more cars on the production line, and it's still competition is going on, right? So we are still not happy. We want to go more. And I think the same thing is going to happen with AI. So it will help us to be much more productive. It will bring a lot of ready-to-go things, and we will just have to move our creativity to the next level, right? So we work on top of the AI to build something great. And I think this is my view of what's going on now.
I fully agree with Nenad. The dream was always to work less, but this is not going to happen, I guess.
So it's not a replacement, it's actually a leverage that, if applied correctly, it allows you to have a much higher output given the same or similar input. So the input is not going lower, just the output is increasing.
I think the input will actually become much higher.
Herbert, from your experience now, by using AI tools, what is AI not capable of doing yet, or where does it simply fail to deliver good quality for your work?
I mean, currently it's really an early stage, and it doesn't go on a high quality level yet. I think it's going to be there soon. But in general, I think there is always things that AI cannot do, and especially on the side of creativity. AI per definition is not creative. It just takes, it's a text generator or image generator trained on existing text and existing images. So you cannot create anything new unless you do experiments as an AI, which is not the case. And for doing experiments, you need to be creative with a new idea. It helps to be creative, right? But it's not really creative. This is something AI cannot do yet. And also, I mean, the quality, I don't know, Nenad, but with the coding quality, it always needs to double check, and it doesn't work here, it doesn't work there. It helps, of course, to accelerate in some parts of the development process, but other parts, it's also getting slower and more tedious. I think it adds complexity, definitely, which also is a drawback from AI. But it adds also simplicity. So it's like a balance a bit, I would say. I'm interested what Nenad has to say about this.
Oh, it's completely true. Actually, I'm trying to imprint the rule in our company that anything you get from AI should be checked by you as well, just that you understand what it does, right? So otherwise, not just copy paste it, because many times if you don't prompt properly or it didn't understand you, it might actually give you the result that you use, and it actually does something completely different, right? So on top of that, you need to have tests obviously running, making sure that acceptance criteria is met and that test cases are covered and so on. But yeah, I really try to have this rule. You have to check what you copy, right?
So yeah, you need the human check. I love that. That's a good reminder. Don't let AI run on autopilot in that sense. Herbert, I wonder, when we talk about the AI development, we often also see you are basically an AI startup, right? Because AI is deeply embedded in your product at Earkick. And how do you think about building a defensible moat when you are relying on AI to a certain degree? Isn't it easier to simply try to do something similar to you and just copy that? How do you think about defensibility in the age of AI products?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I'm in the AI realm since 1999, and the first company in 2006, also in AI, if you want. So it was computer vision, but that also belongs to the AI family. This is my world, let's say. But having this edge in this really fast, quickly changing environment is pretty challenging. You need always to reiterate. And then currently, 2 years ago, chat agents were something new. Now it's not new anymore. Everyone has some kind of chat. Still, voice chats are something that are less frequent. You don't see a lot of apps that actually do have voice chats and you can talk with. That's already one level above. But then we always try to be better than what's on the market, try to make the experience better. And also things like privacy is really important for us. Whereas, on ChatGPT or other agents, you are exposed and your data is used for retraining the model. And that's not the case for us. And also we're hyper focused on mental health, which actually none of the regular models is. So these are the things where we are different and we try to have our moat there. Of course, also data. And I mean, the measurement of mental health is also something no one is doing. And that's heavily reliable on the data.
I don't know if people notice that it is not really AI relevant, but it's this hype of no code together with AI. I don't know if you guys saw what happened with build.ai. It was all around LinkedIn.
So they went bust, right?
Exactly. So the question is what happened actually that they got bust, because they just got money recently. And now a lot of the startups that dependent on their infrastructure are down. So they invested all their money to build the platform. So you have to really, and then it went down. Obviously now they cannot work, they cannot serve their clients. And you have to really watch out when you invest and you depend on the platform, which is what is this platform actually, and what is the security risk there, what is the safety risk, what is the is there like a roadmap already that they will live for at least like 5 to 10 years, and what's going on, because this was a very, like, for me that was eye-opening when I saw it, because we are going with this hype, we like it, no code, AI, it helps us everywhere, but at some point, you suddenly hear something like that, and I don't know, thousands of startups are now in deep trouble because of this, right? So
that's a very good reminder. I think it's great for an MVP where you want to test something fast, but then when you actually want to build a product and you have paying customers, you probably need to go off these platforms to reduce the reliability on them, the dependency on them pretty fast in that sense.
Exactly. Or you have something really stable. I don't know. If AWS starts something like that, okay, this is safe.
Sure.
Right? So
yeah, that makes sense. I also talk about the defensibility. I also saw a post from Merantix from Berlin the other day from Adrian Locher, where he was talking about proprietary data ownership combined with a deep workflow integration are the two biggest moats when building products with AI, because that's really, really difficult to replicate or to replace. What are your thoughts on that? I found that pretty eye-opening in the good summary. You agree? You disagree? What's your take on that? Maybe start with Nenad first and then Herbert.
Sure. I think basically, for when startups come to me and they say, look, we want to have the AI, usually they put it because they have to have AI on the pitch deck. So they really didn't think through like what is behind, because there was automation actually even before AI. I mean, Herbert knows that the best, right? We could actually automate a lot of stuff without AI. So you really have to understand where you want to use AI. And if you use it for certain parts, your company has to be also AI ready, right? So you have to have a data cleaned, you have to have enough data to train the models and so on and so forth. And I really believe that this can actually differentiate you from basically all other players that have just open data from somewhere else. So I think actually he was really right with that. So I didn't really think that deep about it, but yeah, when I saw it, I was also saying, that makes sense.
Herbert, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I really think that the proprietary data ownership, this is one of the most important for us as well, but also, things like experience I would add, because, you have on one side, you have the technology, which obviously it cannot be better than like the foundational models that are out there. But you can create on top of that an amazing experience. So this is like having electricity, and you make out of electricity a cool device, right? And an amazing, like, that solves the problem, for example. And this is where we can differentiate and move fast as well.
Fully agree. Yeah, great addition. Now, Nenad, from a CTO perspective, I also wonder, AI and using AI in product development, does it also lead to higher tech debt because you automate more? So you have to also check more that the quality is in order in that sense. Is that a fair assumption, or is that too far away from reality?
I think it's going to the right direction. I just want to add on top of that, with the AI, you become faster. Even before that, we had challenge, the tech teams had challenge, obviously, that business wants to go fast. And then they want to cut corners just to get out on the market and make sure that, product is there to test it and so on. So back then we had to do a lot of, quick patches, develop something quickly to go out. And then maybe afterwards we get time to refactor it and build it properly. Now with AI, this goes like 10 times faster. Like you can actually do much faster and cut much more corners in order to go live, to validate the ideas, which we should do before investing deeper into the tech, right? But then you have to be aware that at some point you need to give freedom to tech team to actually refactor this and set it up properly and so on, review. That's why we are now doing this cloud code analysis to try to actually see like, okay, can we detect like that all the missing pieces that we just like dropped because we were quite fast and so on. So I think it definitely will bring to more technical depth. We just have to learn how to control it.
Nice. How do you do that? Maybe you can share that, Herbert, in practice. How do you sort of solve that tech debt that you accumulate while trying to scale up the product?
If I knew, it's always an issue. we build new things, but we also try to throw away things that are old, to go over the whole tech stack again and renew it and so on. Doing some refactoring from time to time. But yeah, the tech stack that builds up and the complexity increases. I think this is something software has it's not possible to run a software company without that problem.
Yeah, in my experience, every company has it. And it's a typical problem that we face. Like after, let's say, year 5, year 4, year 5 of a startup, they come to us usually and say, hey, look, we would like to rebuild. And what's the reason? This is the reason, And what we did at Movu, it took me a lot of time when I was a CTO at Movu and co-founder to fight for at least 30% of the IT time for refactoring per year. It doesn't mean that we have to do it in a row. It just we have to have 30% of the time and we will figure it out how we use it, right? And this actually worked quite well. We always had technical debt, but we could control it.
Perfect. One last AI question for you, Nenad. If founders want to get started on the topic of AI and start to integrate it into their products, not only for the sake of having it on the pitch deck, but for actually making a real difference and the real improvement, what would you recommend them? Where should they get started?
So I would first, if we are not talking about using it for development, it's really like using it for their product, right?
That's exactly.
Okay. So I would actually challenge challenge their idea where they should use the AI and see is this really meant to be used with AI or not? And then if yes, then actually to look at their data and see, okay, how do we start? Because data is the key for actually having the proper AI. Any AI implementation working is that you have a clean, structured data. And then to start there and see, okay, what do we have? How we can get the data? What do we miss? And then from there, start planning, okay, what do we do then? And obviously to see that this feature that they built has a significant impact on the product and on the customers that are using it.
End of month accounting got you ready to smash your laptop into a million pieces? Meet Infinity.Swiss. Get through your invoices and receipts twice as fast with AI accounting that's surprisingly satisfying. We actually use Infinity.Swiss ourselves here at Swisspreneur, and we absolutely love it. Check out their special offer for founders at infinity.swiss/Swisspreneur.
Now, if you look at your journeys, I'm curious to look back a little bit. Herbert, if you could restart Earkick today, what's one change that you would make to make your team or product building approach? And how does it sort of tie into a blueprint for founders, if you can call it that way?
To be honest, I wouldn't change much. We were really lean in the beginning. Maybe what I would change is to go more for marketing on day even 0 or -1, to start with marketing rather than with developing an MVP, getting the message right first, getting an email list of tons of possible customers, users first before starting the product, and learn from what they want, maybe talk to them directly, see which message resonates with them, and then start building the product according to their needs, much more into what they want. It's more a problem focus than a solution focus. Often I see founders, they have an idea, which in my opinion is the wrong approach, because then you fall in love with your idea. You want to bring it through, sell it to whoever, you don't know who. It's like a product looking for a market. So I would rather start with the market and see which product they're looking for and build that product. We did that, but maybe I would do it 10 times more like this.
You're in the B2C space. Do you think that equally applies for B2B as well?
Yeah, definitely. And even for B2B, I would go more, if I would redo a B2B business right now, I would do so much more marketing, so much more. Knowing with the background in B2C.
Yeah, I feel we could do just an episode on that topic, but how would he do the marketing? I'm really curious, because I think this is a really important message, because we always sort of try to build the product first and then start with the marketing, or even start with sales first and only then marketing. What would you do in these early days to really market the product before even building it? What would be the key activity there?
Yeah, this needs, I think, a proper time, space. This would probably explode the framework. But to give a short answer, I would start with the messaging, testing the messaging, the product, maybe the design even. You can test a lot of things before building. So that's the important thing. You can do that with B2B products, with B2C products. With enterprise products, maybe not so well, but still there. I mean, you can always find a hack. Then I would go really for the numbers in the marketing. When I say a lot of more marketing, then I mean actually go for big numbers, like not thousands of users, but maybe millions of users or customers. I think even like, Swiss companies, they build amazing products, really high quality, amazing products, but they suck at marketing, to be honest, including me. I mean, I don't want to exclude myself, but I'm Swiss too. So I need to learn this much, much more and be much more aggressive with the marketing from day zero.
I love that spirit. I think that's the way to go. I will check with our community. I think we really could do an episode just about that, like pre-launch or pre-coding marketing efforts. So we will get back to you on that. I think that would be a fantastic episode to have. Nenad, switching over to you, looking back to day one of Holy Code, what's one thing that you would change about how you built your product team, and how does that go into a blueprint that we can replicate for founders?
Okay, I mean, we had a lot of different product teams because we served for different customers. But let's say I would look at the team that I was building for Movu at that time. One thing is I wouldn't start with junior engineers, for sure. That's what we did, actually. We had this philosophy that we always have a senior and a junior. So we have a basically like mitigate the risk. And also at the same time, we have the low average salary in that sense as well. So that was quite a setup. Then also, I was trusting a lot to my feelings when it comes to product development, which basically I think Herbert just explained. You should check the market like before actually you start committing to build something bigger and then wasting that development afterwards. So that's definitely. And one thing, okay, that was interesting. It was not at the beginning, but at some point later on, it happened that we decided to build something for what we actually did not have capacity and not neither the budget. So we hired the team. And then 2 months after that, we had to fire good people, really, because we were not able to deliver what we wanted. We didn't get investment, or I don't remember exactly the case, but we want to build a big addition to Movu, which we had to stop.
Great learnings. Thank you for sharing them. To wrap up, I also want to shoot some rapid fire questions to you guys. Let's start with you, Herbert. Remote or in-office teams?
I would say both, to be honest. It depends on the stage of the company, but I would say both during the lifetime of the company.
Got it. When is one better?
Again, what I said before, if your USP is, for example, machine learning or this or that model, or it's the app, then you need to have a team in-house for this. All the rest you can outsource.
Nenad, what's the biggest mistake you've made regarding building product? I know you mentioned a few before, but what would you say the biggest one?
The biggest one at the beginning, I would say trusting my feelings before validating.
Herbert, what's one tool that you can't run your product team without?
Slack.
Got it. Spot on. And Nenad, what's the worst advice that you've heard about team structure when building product?
Several, but let's say that you should go for building like separate tech product design teams and not having them as in the cross-functional mode. Actually, the funny thing is I hear that quite often still.
Okay, well, it's still there. You have to fight it.
Yeah, it's really like building silos, right? So
yeah, that's true. And the last one goes to both of you. Herbert, you first. AI, is it overhyped or underrated?
Also, my answer would be both. On one point, it's overrated when sold as magic or replacing all jobs, and investors get crazy about some things sometimes without even looking. Oh, is this going to be great? So this is the overhyped part, and then the underrated is what actually change it's going to produce over time. So we don't see that day by day. Things creep into our lives, and at the end, the change is actually huge. And I think this is going to be underrated as well. As we talked about small teams, and there is Sam Altman saying or talking about the idea about a single person unicorn. And I think this is something that might become possible at some point. Also, I would like to add something here. if we look at what is going to happen, is that everyone is able to build code, to build software, to build an app or whatever. Everyone. You have designs that are AI generated. The code is AI generated. So there will be a lot of applications and stuff. And so how can they then become successful is by great marketing. Here we are again, and building something for the user that they really solves the problem for them. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to look forward to what's coming.
It really comes down back to this creativity part and understanding the real problem that you solve. This becomes more important when building becomes a bit more of a commodity to the days before. Nenad, AI overhyped or underrated?
Yeah, I share the view of Herbert. I'm just more on the overhyped at the moment because I'm in the middle of it, right? We are trying out a lot of stuff and we see like how not perfect it is still. So you have to really watch out because I have the feeling that a lot of the founders are coming to us with an idea that AI is solution for everything, which is not at the moment still, unfortunately. Hopefully one day will be. So I think it's at the moment more overhyped, but I also think that it's underrated because I think by the time then when this is ready so that AI can really do crazy stuff, the population won't be ready for it. So I think we should start learning more about it earlier, right? It's the same like with the cryptocurrency when it came out. I mean, there are still people who are afraid to actually touch it. So, but back then it was even more, right? Now it's much more easier, right? And now there are some initiatives that some tradings are being moved to the crypto completely and so on and so forth. So.
Beautiful. I wrote down 5 key messages that I take away from the session with you guys today. It was very insightful. The first one was start lean. 2 people are enough to start with a product team. Then as you grow, focus on senior, not junior hires. Have as little meetings as possible, as much as necessary, unfortunately still. And trust data, not feelings. And the last one, before building even a product, maybe you should think about marketing first. I really like that one. Guys, thank you so much for your time, for your insights. It was a pleasure having you. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure we're going to see you back here very soon, maybe for the marketing session. Who knows?
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.